Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the council meeting tonight. Can I particularly welcome those of you who are in the public gallery tonight? And I declare the meeting opened at 6:30 p.m. Councillors, we'll now move to public forum, and tonight we have two requests to address council. The first request I have is from Mr. Tony Oldfield. Would you like to come forward, Mr. Oldfield? Mr. Oldfield is going to talk about the 109A Church Street, Lidcombe DA, and the draft submission that's on the business paper tonight. Thank you, Mr. Oldfield. You have 3 minutes with the possibility of a 2-minute extension.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address council this evening. I'm supporting the draft submission, and I congratulate council on the draft submission. I think it's good that they've stepped up to the mark and they're supporting the large number of local residents in Lidcombe opposed to the putrid waste station. I'd like to address an important related issue, and that's the public access to the planning panel meeting on the putrid waste station. I don't think it's good enough that the planning panel is meeting on a Thursday morning and by video conference. We had a massive number of residents who took the time to put submissions in on this issue. We had hundreds of residents attend not one but 2, 3 public meetings on this issue. And I think that it's important that we respect those residents who made an effort on this issue, and that we make available that panel meeting at a time and a date when a large number of the local residents would be able to attend. I think it raises the question about the commitment of our planning institutions to accountability and transparency. You know, the video conference will deny a lot of local residents having a say in that meeting, either because they don't have the technology or they don't have the ability to access the video conference. I think that council should request of the planning panel that the meeting be rescheduled at a time and a place when the majority of residents will be able to attend. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Oldfield. And the other speaker I have tonight is Ms. Jess. Does somebody have a question for Mr. Oldfield? Thank you. The others. Yes, Councillor Garrard.
I'm through you, Madam Mayor, to the General Manager, and I support the comments.
No, Councillor Garrard, we're only in public forum at the moment. If you have a question to Mr. Oldfield, that's the only position we're dealing with at the moment.
Fair enough.
Thank you. We'll go into debate later. You would like to ask a question of Mr. Oldfield? Yes. Thanks. Sorry, Mr. Oldfield, if you can come forward.
I congratulate you on these T-shirts that are floating around town. And the one that fits you very well. But I know you've been in public life in the past, Mr. Oldfield. Do you? And I know you were around when there was another waste depot, not only proposed and approved.
Colleagues.
And on that particular occasion, were there public meetings?
There were public meetings.
Point in time?
Yeah. There were many public meetings.
Yeah.
Both council and general public meetings.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Oldfield.
Thank you. Councillor Sarkis, did you have a question?
I do. And Mr. Oldfield, being a former councillor himself, knows well, but I'd just like to highlight that you know that even if we do put in a request that they have a public meeting or make the meeting available to public in person, they may not grant it, and it's state government.
I understand.
That has the call, not us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that we should stress the importance of
I agree
accountability and transparency,
I agree with you,
and the large number of residents that actually took part in this issue.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Oldfield. Wait for the debate. You may find you get the request that you've asked for. So, councillors, I need to bring forward the two papers that have been addressed. That's matter 24469, the DAL 109A Church Street, and the 472 notice of motion on drag story time. I have a mover, Councillor Hughes, seconded Councillor Coleman. All those in favour? I declare that carried, and I go straight to the 469 draft submission. I've got Councillor. Yeah. I have Councillor Farooqui called it. You can second it, Councillor Hughes. Thank you. Councillor Farooqui.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to thank first to Mr. Tony Oldfield for coming here and speaking tonight, and all the residents who are here for this matter. This particular DA of the Church Street, Lidcombe, has been a matter of great interest of our residents and of the councillors as representatives. And all the time, last year, we faced this matter and we dealt with this issue a number of times, and we always made sure that the residents' voice are heard. So part of that process is in August, Mayor Lake put the proposal, put the proposal that the council prepares a draft submission to Sydney Central City Planning Panel, and the submission will be considered as formal submission on behalf of all elected councillors. So here is the draft with us tonight, and I move the recommendation that the submission as attached to the report is accepted, but I also want to add a point there. Mr. Ayub, the point I sent, an amendment, third point. That's a feedback we received from many of our residents and
Just pardon me, Councillor Farooqui. I'll just make sure this point gets up on the screen.
Can we stop the clock,
yes,
please? Yeah.
For sure.
So, can I
just wait, Councillor Farooqui. We need to see the full motion that you're moving. So you've added requests the planning panel to hold an in-person meeting rather than a virtual meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Can you go ahead? That's the third point I want to add.
Okay, it's fine now. Please continue, and you can start the clock again. Thank you.
Yeah. So as Mr. Oldfield mentioned, and obviously it is very important for all of us that this meeting is held in person, because online, not everyone can access online meeting. And this is absolutely a very significant matter for all our residents. Now, going back to the draft submission, the reason I'm recommending this draft submission is I think it is prepared by the external organizations. External planning consultant was involved, and which was in the resolution of 16th of August. And they considered all the submissions we received, and it was done internally. So we received a significant number of submissions from our residents. That was about 1,900. That was absolutely that incredible number. So in the submission, I think very important points have been mentioned about the site unsuitable, because it is in 200-meter radius of established communities, including Lidcombe local centre and other sensitive land uses. Other was obviously one of the key concerns. hours of operation. It has proposed an extended hour, and all our residents mentioned that, and it was a big concern. The smell and the odor of the carrying trucks, noise impacts, and I think the transport, the traffic it will create. All this, I went through the whole submission. I think very important points were mentioned, but it is very important that the consultation that will take place on 7th of March is in person. It is very important meeting for all of us, all residents, all councillors, and I'm really pleased to see that from the council we have prepared this draft submission. It is a very exceptional situation where a council is submitting a draft submission to the planning panel showing that the elected members are opposing it. It is absolutely a very significant step, and I think we have done a right thing here. But yeah, I would like to add that in-person thing, and also I'd like to, can I add one more point here about the timing of the meeting? Number 4, council requests the planning panel to reschedule the meeting. That suits most of the residents. What do I say? Maybe weekend, we can say. We can be more. Yeah, out of work hours. Yeah, Mayor is saying how will they know. So after hours, yeah. And let's say after hours.
So request that the planning panel reschedule the in-person meeting to a time outside of normal business hours.
Yeah.
Would that work? Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
It's after hours, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Farooqui.
Yeah.
Councillor Hughes. I take it you're happy with the.
Going to raise that myself, quite frankly.
Good.
It should be that it is on a non-work day, or if it is on a working day, it is out of hours, because it is very unreasonable. Additionally, though, I would like to add that there is notification of our very multicultural community, and therefore they need to understand clearly that a number of people don't have the details at the outset, and so whether that can be added in, that request acceptance, request understanding that a very multicultural community would be attending, and appropriate requirements accordingly. Now, that obviously would primarily be about speech aspects, that sort of thing.
Make it something a little bit more concrete.
Well,
So appropriate interpreter service be available?
Services then.
Yeah.
That they need more than one.
Councillor Farooqui, are you happy with that?
Yeah, but very.
Yes, and they already have been. Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy with the idea, but.
And that appropriate interpreting services be available.
Yes. Now.
And that appropriate, sorry, I'm just getting the grammar right.
Provide.
Timing just be stopped while this is happening, please.
And that appropriate the word that, and that. Appropriate interpreting services be provided. Full stop.
We don't need accordingly, right?
Full stop, delete accordingly.
Yeah.
All right. Both mover and seconder are okay with the words? Yeah. All right, keep going, Councillor.
Now, of course, with this as well, people have been emailed, but not everybody gets emails, or whether they've actually been posted as well. So I do feel that discretion needs to be done here to ensure that people do receive the information very clearly, one way or another. So procedurally, there would need to be a link there. I will also suggest, though, that we do add one other item to this to make it abundantly clear of the way that we are feeling. On the conclusion of the report, it is explicit, and this way, by putting it as part of our motion, it really makes it stand out. So I would ask for inclusion of the wording in the conclusion as part of our motion. It is that Cumberland Council strongly objects to the proposed development in its entirety. The proposed development represents an inappropriate development of the land that would negatively impact the local community. The development application has made inadequate provision to address its impacts. We respectfully submit that the proposed development fails to meet the merit assessment conditions pertaining to land.
Councillor Hughes, they can't possibly keep up with you.
Well, I'm sure
and
they can
this
copy-paste.
is the submission.
It is in the submission.
But aren't we adopting the submission in
Yes,
point
but
one?
I think to be able to put it this way, it is then clearly in the minutes and it makes it stand out much more strongly. We respectfully submit that the proposed development...
So rather than you dictate the words, what you just need... Excuse me, please don't swear at me, Councillor
I'm
Garrard.
not swearing at all.
Yeah, I heard you. No, you can't move dissent. You haven't moved a point of order. I am running this meeting and I'm suggesting to Councillor Hughes that all she needs to say at this point is that Mr Ayoub include the words that appear in the paragraph that she has referenced on page whatever it is of the business paper.
It is page 105.
And he can cut and paste.
Inclusive of that, of course, is that we respectfully submit that the proposed development fails to meet the merit assessment conditions pertaining to the land. It is not in the public interests and therefore should be refused. I do think it's important to put that out as a highlight because it is therefore noticeable and have an awareness. Personally, for a lifelong Lidcombe resident, I was very fortunate that a member of the community who is here this evening had contacted me. He'd contacted all three councillors and I was the only one that had initially responded. And of course things went up from there and we've worked as a collective with the community. It's not been a one-off person. There has been a very significant group of residents and we have worked out together as a group to make things happen, and so that's been very ideal. We've been very fortunate in that respect. I have, of course, spoken to Mr Ayoub about this report. There's a few typos that need to be fixed up, and certainly there is a few things that could have been perhaps made a little bit more strongly in here, but it certainly is very clear there of the way that this is. And as we'd spoken up before, as a resident, I was very concerned about this and against this for our people. To have this, it's not the what it is, it's the where it is, and it is so inappropriate within such a close residential area. So I'd certainly hope that that slight amendment is acceptable as well because it makes it out there for all of us to be able to see it extremely clearly. And we're very fortunate, but we still have a long way to go. It doesn't necessarily mean that what the outcome will be. But our needs for our community, for their inclusion. We have a lot of older people who do not necessarily have computers. They do not necessarily know how to do even a registration online. And our multilingual needs of our people is really critical. So an in-person meeting is essential for our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Farooqui, you're accepting of the final point that is paraphrasing really the submission's main point? No.
But I don't think it's necessary. No. I mean, it's there in the submission. I can accept it.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Garrard.
Madam Chair, I support the motion that's been spoken to by Councillor Hughes. And I must say, quite frankly, I have to congratulate the members of the community that have participated in putting forward some 1,900 submissions.
Extraordinary.
The people who have worked around the clock to ensure those submissions got to their place on time, were developed. And I've got to thank Councillor Hughes for the work she's done in this matter. She contacted, or she answered the phone to members of the public who are not mentioning names that are present here tonight, where others never. The ALP were certainly asleep on the job when this matter came up. I haven't seen a situation in local government where a mayor has stepped in and interfered with a moving of a motion to say, listen, don't read it all out, we'll just do such and such. Well, I wish the same mayor would apply the same condition to her own people when we start talking about that. But I certainly strongly, with Cumberland Council, strongly object to the proposed development in its entirety. The proposed development represents an inappropriate development of the land that would negatively impact upon the local community, Madam Mayor. The development application has made inadequate provision to address the impacts. And this submission respectfully asks that this development fails to meet the merit assessment considerations pertaining to this land, and the information that's been put out in terms of the public interest should be refused. I think the community have been absolutely marvellous, where we know very well that there's a no-tip website available now where members of the public can find up-to-date information on what council has done, on what's occurred in the community. None of this, where we are today, would quite frankly be possible if there wasn't the thorough support of the community behind opposing this application. If we left it up to politics, we would find out that, this matter would sadly not have been where it is today. It's only when people who love the area, who are members of our local community, who go out there to bat for the community, to say, listen, this is just not good enough. Not good enough. And I know Councillor Hughes did wish to move the motion tonight. It probably would have been appropriate for her to move it, because at the end of the day I think she's given a fair bit of time in her efforts with the community to work with the community in getting where we are on this matter. But in typical fashion, someone from the Labor Party has to jump in and try and take all the kudos and credit for it, even though they say they represent the community, but in future they won't be representing the Labor Party. So I say that this is a great statement by the council tonight, and I thoroughly request the chamber to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. I don't have any further speakers. Is that correct? So I might just draw council's attention to the fact that this is a councillor elected submission to the planning panel, that there has already been lodged a separate assessment report by the council through the council offices, and that is available on the planning panel website, and this will be a submission from the elected councillors. Are people clear that that's what's being proposed tonight? That's exactly what we're asking. Thank you, Councillor. So all those in favour of this, did you want a right of reply, Councillor Farooqui? You're entitled to that. Thank you.
Quickly. So it's not only Councillor Hughes, all the councillors spend a lot of time obviously engaging with all our residents. Credit goes to our residents for talking about this matter and expressing your concern. But I'd also like to thank our council officers. They really worked hard in putting the whole thing together. So Councillor Kun Huang and I we proposed a community information session which was held in August, and it was a very big community consultation in Lidcombe, and our council officers worked really hard to put it together and answering all the questions. So I'd like to express my particular thanks to our council officers, and this submission also says that this submission was done considering all those 1,900 submissions internally. So a lot of hard work behind it. Again, I thank you, Mayor, for taking this initiative of submitting this draft submission, because this is the first time, as I said before, a submission from the elected body. It is absolutely a significant step. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Farooqui. So I'm going to put the motion now. All those in favour? All those opposed? We might do show of hands, I think. All those in favour? So we've got Councillor Clr Garrard, Hughes, Zeta, Rami, Sarkis, Cummings, Farooqui, Saha, Coleman and Lake. I'm sorry, Councillor Sarkis. Oh, and Councillor Hussain. Is that where you are? Thank you. We'll just have it recorded as to the names. That's unanimous, and the matter is resolved. I ask that Councillor Hamed and Councillor Elmore be brought back into the chamber